Hey everybody, welcome back to our channel. First of all, I want to say I'm sorry, we haven't posted a video in a while. Grace's mom got sick back in the beginning of March, and she had to go back to the Philippines. And unfortunately, what was supposed to be basically a 30-day trip ended up in being a 2-month trip. And I've just been so busy trying to get orders out and trying to get furniture built and cabinets built for customers that I just haven't had any time to make any videos. But Grace is back, and we're gonna get back on that horse and start getting video content out to you guys starting today. So today, what we're gonna talk about is I hear a lot in woodworking groups that I'm a part of. People are always asking the question, how do you ship your products? How do you ship things that are kind of big and they're heavy and delicate? How do you ship those without them getting damaged? And I'll tell you that is a good question. We have shipped hundreds of furniture items over the past several years. This is just a small example of some of the kinds of things that we send. These dog feeders, our laundry hampers, coffee bars, cabinets, vanities, you name it. We send all kinds of stuff through UPS and FedEx, and over the years we have suffered quite a bit of damage to our products, which is a nightmare because then you have to rectify that somehow with your customer. So you either have to start completely over and rebuild it and reship it for free, basically, or you got to find somebody locally who can do a repair, and it's just a nightmare. So learning how to properly package one of these items so that it doesn't get damaged during shipment it's a learning experience. And that's what I'm here today to give you, is my experience or our experience in shipping these things, the things to do, the things not to do, and what you can do to really kind of guarantee that, or at least the best way you can guarantee that your item is going to get to its destination regardless of how terribly UPS treats it. So with that said, I want to start talking about each one of these items in steps. So today I've got to ship out this order for Sam. And Sam ordered this medium feeder from us. It measures 14 high, 15 deep, and 25 wide. It's got stainless steel bowls, and it does have a drawer in the bottom with heavy-duty ball bearing slides to keep the drawer in. And we've taken the extra steps to put in at least 6 screws on each side of the drawer slide rail to make sure that it fares as well as it can during shipping, which is really important because if this item is going to fail anywhere, it's going to fail in your drawer slides. So if you have something with moving parts like hinges, especially if you've got piano hinges, or drawer slides like this, you want to make sure that you use every available hole in the drawer slide to attach it, because like I said, if it's going to fail, that's where it's going to happen. So we're going to pack up this feeder today, and I'm going to take you through the entire process. But there's some things I want to talk about before we even start packing, and that is, let's just attack this in steps, okay? Step 1, you want to make sure that you're getting the right box for whatever it is you're sending. Now, boxes generally come in 200-pound test, 275-pound test, and 350-pound test, and they come in single wall and double wall configuration on the boxes. This matters because if you're buying insurance, which for your higher priced items you should, I don't necessarily do it on these because these are really inexpensive, but for your higher priced items you should buy insurance. But if you don't get the right box, if something should happen to that piece of furniture in transit and it gets damaged, UPS or FedEx, they're going to deny your insurance claim, and that's awful. Especially when you built something that's you sold for $500 or $600, you bought the insurance on, and then UPS found found some discrepancy, like half an inch of space between your item and the box edge, less than what they require. So when you're buying boxes, make sure that you're looking at, and it should say like if you're buying from a Uline, which most people do, go to the additional information about the box, and it'll tell you what UPS says that box is rated for. So for example, this box I ship in an 18 by 18 by 28 inch box. It's a 200-pound test box with a maximum weight of 40 pounds for the item. Like I said, this item is just shy of 40 pounds, like 38 pounds. So for my purposes, that will work. And we're going to wrap this in a way, and I'm going to show you how to do it, but we're going to wrap it in a way to really kind of guarantee the best deal here. So basically the moral of the story here is, if you're going to insure your product, whatever it is you're shipping, make sure that you're adhering to UPS guidelines, which is you're using the right box and you're providing, I think it is 2 inches of space completely around each and every side of the item in packing material. If you do that, you have a much better chance of getting paid on the insurance claim. If you don't, they will deny it. We have had several denied from UPS back in the beginning when we started doing this, and it's no fun. You paid for the insurance, you never got paid back. It was a waste of money, all because we packed it wrong. And it was our fault because we didn't know what we were doing. Now we do. So that's number 1. All right, now let's go to step 2 and let's take a look at the box. All right, here's the box I'm going to be using. Now, for those of you with patience who did not fast forward through this part, I'm going to give you a tip. Most of us who ship, we buy boxes through Uline, and normally that's fine. Uline is a great company, easy to order from them, and the prices are really pretty reasonable. However, just in the last few months, with the rise in fuel costs and supply chain issues and all of that, the shipping fees from Uline, okay, we used to get, we would get at least 20 to 40 of these boxes at one time, at least 2 large rolls of the bubble wrap. That used to be about $85 to have shipped to my door via freight. That has gone up to $165. It is now almost double what it used to be. So when you're talking about an order of that's really just $300 worth of boxes and bubble wrap, paying $165 for shipping is kind of ridiculous. So there is a workaround, and I'm going to tell you the secret. There's a company called Grainger, Grainger. They have 200 locations nationwide. I know that because I just Googled it. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but they have plenty of locations, especially in big cities nationwide. You can order these boxes through them and pick them up at your local Grainger, and you don't have to pay shipping. So that's what I'm going to be doing this week. I was going to make an order yesterday. The shipping was just outrageous, so I went through Grainger. They're going to have the same boxes, the same bubble available to me on Friday, which today is Wednesday. So 2 days, they'll have the boxes and shipping materials here, and I'll have saved that $165 in shipping. Okay, so that's just a tip for those of you who didn't skip out on me early. Okay, but here's our box. Okay, so you can see here on the box that this box is rated at 200. You probably can't see it, but it is here. It's on most boxes. You'll see the test rating. This is a 200-pound test, and you'll see the size, 28 by 18 by 18. Now you heard me mention that that UPS has a requirement of 2 inches around each side. My feeder is 14 by 15 by 25. The box is 18 by 18 by 28. So if you've done the math in your head already, then you know I'm a little shy on some of these edges. On 2 of these edges, I'm about 1 inch shy. That's okay, because over the years, and over shipping hundreds of these things, I've learned how to do this in a way that is going to be okay. And it's going to survive till it gets there. Okay? But step 2 here, step 2 is going to be to glue your box shut. Okay? I can't even explain to you how important that is. Instead of using, miles and miles of packing tape on this thing, you want to glue it up. You're still going to use tape, you're still going to run a strip of tape across the seams, but ultimately the most important thing we can do at this point is to glue our box up. So let's do that right now. I'm just going to use regular wood glue because I'm a woodworker and that's what I have, and let's face it, this is wood, in some form. So that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use some Titebond 2 just because it's cheap. And we'll go ahead and glue up one side of this box. All right, that's it. I glued the bottom of the box together, and I've just thrown in some full paint cans to hold the box flaps together while the glue sets. I'm going to let this sit about 15 to 20 minutes so it sets up and it dries. And then we'll go ahead, while this is drying, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this puppy up. Okay, so when you're shipping products like furniture like this, you've got to have, in my opinion, at least three things that you just cannot live without when you're packing this kind of thing. And the first one is, of course, your bubble wrap. This bubble wrap comes from Uline. You can get it from Grainger as well, like I mentioned before. Last I paid for it, which was yesterday, it was $80 for 2 rolls. And this roll is 24 inches wide. It's 1/2 inch bubble. And it's 250 feet long. So I can wrap a whole lot of these feeders just out of one roll of this bubble wrap. Now, one thing I want to mention, this is the 1/2 inch bubble wrap. It's got big cells in it. And you can use the 5/16 or you can use the 1/4, but what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up wrapping the thing several times just to get it big enough to fit snugly in your box. So I like to use this 1/2 inch because I really only have to go 3 or 4 rotations around the unit to completely cover it. The next thing you absolutely have to have is tape, okay? Because as you're gonna see while we're packing this thing, tape comes in really, really handy as you're putting on the different layers and the different components and protection to your item. The last thing I'm going to mention, and yes, in my opinion, this is an absolute necessity, is this cling wrap. It's this just clear cellophane cling wrap. Basically what you would find in your grocery store to wrap up your food with, but it's in large format, and this stuff is super, super cheap. And I'm going to show you why it's so important and why you need this. We're going to use this at 2 different steps of packing this thing up. And once we're done, you'll see exactly why this matters. Okay, so let's go ahead and start wrapping this thing up and start packaging it up and preparing it for shipment. When an item gets damaged in transport, it's usually because the item was moving. Either the item was moving or something inside the item was moving. And in this case, this dog feeder, we have a couple parts that can move. We have these bowls, which can move, which sometimes I'll put the bowls together, I'll wrap them in bubble wrap, and I'll put them inside the drawer here underneath. Other times, I'll just leave them up here, I'll leave the plastic on them, and I'll leave them up here, and then we'll wrap it. But I also have this drawer that can move in shipping. As my shipping provider, whoever it is, as they play football with this thing out in the parking lot, which it seems they do, this drawer is going to move inside the box. And I don't want that, because the more this thing moves, the more likely that we're going to get some sort of damage to this unit. So this is the first part of where this cling wrap comes in super, super handy, and it's really, really important because it will keep everything from moving. And what we're going to do is we're just going to wrap it up, and we're going to make sure that we have it tightly wrapped so that nothing moves. The drawer won't pull out, the tops of the feeders or the tops of the bowls won't come out, they won't move around. We're just going to make sure this thing is solid before we start putting on any bubble or anything like that. So let's do that. Now, as you're wrapping this, you can't always get, unless you've got 2 people, you can't always get this super tight. The first wrap you do. So just go around it a couple times. Like I said, this stuff is super cheap. And as you go around it, make sure you pull and stretch this wrap all the way around. And I'm going to wrap this thing, I'm going to go around this thing probably 3 times. And there you have it. That is wrapped. This stuff will cling to itself. You could just fold it over. I'm going to wrap the bottom as well, but first I want to wrap in this direction. So I'll flip this on its side and we'll wrap it again in this direction. Okay, so now I have this thing completely wrapped. There's no place on here that's not wrapped in this clear cellophane. And nothing's going anywhere. This drawer is not gonna budge because I wrapped it really tight. And the bowls aren't going anywhere because those are held in by this as well. Now, the next step, and I didn't mention this as a necessity because I don't know that it is. I have sent these with and without these. These are corner protectors. Again, these are available from Uline. What they're designed to do is they're supposed to be folded up like so, and then folded again to cover edges. And let me see if I can show you here. If you fold it up like this, then what you've got is a corner protector that basically can slide on the edge of a corner like this, and you can tape it in. And we buy these because on our laundry hampers, our cabinets with doors, some of the other items we have that have pieces that open up, they'll slip right on to the edge. They won't slip onto this because the top is firmly attached and permanently attached to the base of the feeder. So what I do in this case is I still use the corner protectors. I just fold them over like so, like that, and tape it up. Because I have these protruding corners. The top of this feeder overhangs 3/4 of an inch in 3 directions. 3/4 in the front, 3/4 on both sides, and it's flush in the back. But I do have these corners that are sticking out. If my shipping provider drops the box, and they drop it with enough force to move this feeder and actually hit something, this is where you're going to take the damage. You're going to take the damage on these corners. So I use these little protectors, and I use these after I put on the wrap, because then with the wrap on it, I can tape it. You don't want to tape this to your paint or your polyurethane top. Instead, I want to wrap it in the plastic first, and I want to tape to the plastic. So I'll just go ahead and put these 4 corners on real quick. Okay, there we go. So my corners are made and they're taped on. And if I wanted to, I could take the clear wrap and I could run this around again just to make sure these don't move. And actually, I think I will. So let's just very quickly just put one more layer of this wrap on here. Like I said, this stuff is super cheap, so you don't have to feel bad about using a ton of it. I'm just going to go around it once because I don't need the strength, I just need it to stay in place while I do the next step. And there we go. We're now all wrapped up. Our top protruding corners are protected. The next thing to do is to put on the bubble wrap. And when we're putting on the bubble wrap, try and keep in mind, know the dimensions of your box, know the dimensions of your product, and try and visualize which areas you need more or less packing material. This feeder is 14 inches high. The box is 18 inches in one direction. This feeder is 15 inches deep. Okay, so that leaves us 3 inches. We got 4 inches on the height. We got 3 inches on the width. And then on the length, this is 25 inches, but the box is 28. So we're gonna have to make up 3 inches there. So what I'm gonna do is on this 14-inch side, I'm gonna put my seams here, because wherever I have my seams, the packaging is gonna be a little thicker there, and that'll allow me to really get a snug fit inside the box. On the areas where I'm a little tighter, like on this side, I won't put a seam here, or maybe I'll alternate the seams. Maybe I'll put one seam up here and another seam back here. Same with the length. Perhaps I'll put one seam up here going in one direction and then one seam down here going the other direction, okay? But anyways, let's go ahead and wrap this in bubble. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wrap this twice in one direction, and then I'm gonna wrap it once in the opposite direction. And that should give me an item that fits perfectly inside that box. And I know that because I've done this way too many times. So let's go ahead and wrap it up. We're going to cut one wrap, tape it, secure it, and then we're gonna flip it, wrap it, tape it, secure it, flip it, wrap it, tape it, secure it. Okay, that's the order we're gonna do it. And we're not gonna just try to wrap this thing up in one fell swoop. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, I've basically got this centered. Now I'm just going to lift up. I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna put a seam right here. Remember, wherever I put a seam, the packaging material is gonna be a little thicker. So I'm gonna put a seam right here so that I have a thick spot on this edge. All right, this is our first layer. I'm just gonna overlap the edges. You wanna pull this tight, okay? You want a tight fit. We're gonna pull it tight. We're gonna pull up this other edge here, and we're gonna tape this in place. Again, you want this to be pretty tight, okay? That's really important. I'm gonna show you in a little bit just how important that is. But you wanna make sure you have, this is not loose. This is a nice tight fit around this thing. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come around to each corner using my scissors, and I'm just gonna cut in a little bit at each corner, because if you don't, what you're gonna end up with is you're gonna end up with this really thick bubbled corner that once you get it in the box, you're gonna have spaces all around the sides. So if you just cut them like you're, almost wrapping a Christmas present, you cut them like that so they can fold over one another like this, instead of trying to pinch it and fold it, right? You can see how that's gonna be a much bigger edge there. We're gonna do it like this. And I'm just gonna go around and I'm gonna do that to the whole thing. Okay, so I've got this thing, I don't know if you can see it, I've got this thing completely wrapped in one direction. I've taken the corners, cut them, and folded them over and taped them into place. So now I have everything kind of tightly held together. Again, tight. Tight is important. You've got to make sure that it's tight. And so we've done this one layer. I now have to do two more layers. I've got to do a layer on this side that goes around this way, and I'm going to do one more layer on top of this layer, so that I have 3 layers in this direction. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so I now have 2 layers in one direction, one layer in the other direction, and this bubble wrap is 1/2 inch thick, and in some places it's doubled up. So I really should have at least, right, 1.5 inches, possibly 2 inches almost around each side of this. And you might be looking at this thinking, you know what, looks good. This is ready to ship. It is not ready to ship. Trust me on this one, please. If you learn anything from this video, learn that this is not ready to ship, okay? If I go to pick this up, right? Let's see if I can make it happen. Well, one just did, but you didn't hear it. If I press on these, you can pop them, all right? You can pop them. There's one, right? Press on it. They'll pop, okay, if you press on them. What that means is if this thing is being jostled around inside the box and they take several heavy hits, these bubbles are popping the entire time that it's taking those heavy hits. What we want to ensure is that these bubbles stay intact until they get to the final destination. And the only way we can do that is by tightly wrapping it with our cellophane wrap. And I'm gonna do that now. I'm gonna wrap this entire thing very tight. Okay, that's the key. Very, very tight. I'm gonna wrap it very tight all the way around in every single direction. and then we'll try and pop one of these bubbles and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so now we have our 3 layers of bubble wrap on here, and we have wrapped this thing very tightly in cellophane. And now, if you come in here and you try to pop these bubbles, now there's one. But I mean, you really gotta try. There was one. You really gotta try. When you wrap it up real tight like this, you spread the force out over all the other bubbles instead of just one. And what you end up with is something a lot sturdier for transit. Now, my box should be dry, so let's get the box. All right, here's our box. We'll just check the bottom here. We'll check that glue, okay? All I did there was glue it. You can see that that is solid. So now, we should be able to just slip this bad boy right in. There you go. And I don't know if you can see that, but when we seal this box up, this thing is not going to move inside this box. We're gonna do the same thing, okay? Don't forget, always glue your boxes, okay? So we're just gonna apply some glue. Save that for later. All right. Put some glue on both sides. I'm gonna grab myself a piece of tape just to keep these things aligned. Okay. I'll line up the bottom seam here and just put a piece of tape right there. I'll do the same thing with the sides. We'll just tape them in and push them in so that everything's fitting nice and flush together. That's all the tape I'm going to put on it for now. Some glue drips. No biggie. And once I know that these are all taped up and aligned, I can just flip the box over and let it set, rest on its own weight to let that bottom part dry. I will run just a couple lines of tape over the seam here. Nothing crazy. 2 pieces of tape will do it. All right, and that's it. It's ready to go. Last but not least, obviously how these things are handled out in the trucks and in the packing and sorting facilities is crucial to the condition it arrives in. So I will give you this other 2 cents piece of advice here, is when you're printing out your labels, print out at least 2 and put one on one face and then put one on basically the caddy corner face. If you want to go crazy with it, I do that all the time, and I print 4, and I'll put one on each and every side of the box. And that way the guys at UPS or FedEx, they don't have to throw this box around to find the code to scan, which, if you think about it, is probably what they're doing. I can imagine them in a sorting facility just tipping this box over and over and over until they get to the sticker, and boom, they scan the sticker onto the next box. So if you put your label, right, you don't have to pay any more for it, it's just printing on your printer. If you put a label on each side, it will prevent those UPS guys from having to do a whole lot of flipping and turning of your box to find that label to scan, and that'll save your product a little bit of damage as well. I hope this video helped. If you like this video, if you like any of the products that you see here, please like, please subscribe. We're about halfway to our goal of 1,000, almost halfway to our goal of 1,000 subscribers, which is really a big deal for us. We never thought that people would be that interested in what we were doing. But please, like and subscribe. We're going to have a ton more videos. If you like our products, check out our Etsy. We are the Web Ranch Woodworks on Etsy, or our website, shop.thewebranch.com. And if you have any questions, or if you're a packer shipper and you do a lot of this and you have some other tips, please put them in the comments. You know, I'm not about to say that we have perfected this down to an art yet, but we certainly don't get as many damages as we used to get. So if you have any tips, put them in the comments for other people to read. They'll be useful and helpful to them, and us too. So anyways, have a great time, and we'll see you next time.